Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making caramelized onions. This is a fairly easy recipe, but it requires just a little bit of care to make sure that the onions cook slowly and gently and evenly. Caramelized onions are one of those sides that can elevate your dish to the next level. They're one of those magical ingredients that can make the ordinary into something extraordinary. They're excellent with grilled meats. I love to put them in a burger, or even on their own, they're wonderful. So enough talk, let's get cooking. The first ingredient that we need are onions, and we need lots of them because these guys are going to reduce down into almost nothing. An onion of this size would yield about a tablespoon of caramelized onions. I'm using about 5 onions here, and I hope to get about 5 to 6 tablespoons of caramelized onions at the end of all of this. We have to make sure that the onions cook evenly. So to that end, I am not only removing the papery outer layer of the onion, but I'm also removing the outermost layer of onion flesh. This is usually slightly firmer and takes longer to cook than the rest of the onion. I like using red onions for this recipe, by the way. I find that they're sweeter and caramelized better. That being said, you can totally use yellow or white onions. The best onions for this recipe are the ones you have lying around. Once we're done peeling the onions, we do a little bit of housekeeping and then we get to slicing. The idea here is to slice them finely and evenly. We don't want them super fine or paper thin. We want them to have a little bit of body and structure, but we don't want them to be, say, as thick as onions you'd put in a burger. So slowly and carefully, being aware of where your fingers are at all times, proceed to chop your onions until they're all done. After many tears have been shed over your onions, we're going to take a heavy bottomed pan and put it over a very slow flame with 1 tablespoon of olive oil and just add our onions straight into the pot. We're also going to hit the onions with a pinch of salt. The salt is going to help counter the sweetness of the onions, and it's also going to encourage them to sweat. Next, we're just going to stir everything together to make sure all the onions are coated with salt and olive oil, and then we're going to take the lid for our pot and seal the onions in. Now you're just going to walk away for at least 5 minutes and let the onions cook. And at this point, you're going to be very tempted to open the pot, but you must resist. What you're going to do is you're going to take a towel, you're going to grab the pot from each handle, and you're going to hold the lid down with your thumbs and give it a good shake. The shaking is going to help dislodge any of the onions that are threatening to stick to the bottom of the pan, but at the same time, you're not releasing any of that precious steam that you've been capturing for the last 5 minutes. This pretty much is going to be your life for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Shaking the pot, checking the flame, shaking the pot. So what's happening inside the pot is that the onions are releasing their moisture, which is turning into steam. The steam is being trapped in the pot and is helping to soften and cook the onions. It's been about 20 minutes and I noticed that the onions are turning slightly brown. So I'm going to open the pot and pour in a couple of tablespoons of water. The water is going to dislodge any of the onions stuck to the bottom of the pan and is also going to replenish our supply of steam. In 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to repeat this procedure, but instead of water, I'm going to use red wine vinegar. This is going to add a little bit of acidity to the onions, as well as help deglaze the bottom of the pan. From this point onwards, it's all a delicate dance between trapping the steam and making sure the onions don't burn. Stirring them often, but not too often. I'd just like to remind you here that my flame is set to its lowest possible setting. You can continue to deglaze with vinegar, or if you feel you're adding too much acidity, you can deglaze with water. The onions have been cooking for about 30 minutes now, and they've really started to take on a bit of color. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of chicken broth here to the pan, just to give it a little flavor boost. If you'd like to keep the dish vegan, you can totally skip the chicken broth. This is a good time to taste for acidity and saltiness, adjust accordingly, and then continue to cook until you run out of patience or courage. After about 45 minutes of cooking, the volume difference between the raw and cooked onions is startling. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you give this recipe a try. Caramelized onions are sweet and savory and tangy and rich all at the same time, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this recipe. Do leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram. And if you really like this video, then please do consider sharing. Thanks for all your love and support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.